The first thing I noticed that morning was the way the light fell across the kitchen table, soft and golden, like God Himself was pouring honey over the world. It was December 20th, 2 days before my 62nd birthday, and the air in my little house on Cascade Avenue smelled of cinnamon rolls rising in the oven and pine needles from the Christmas tree I'd wrestled in alone last week. I'm Evelyn Marie Washington, though most folks just call me Miss Evie. I've lived in this West End neighborhood of Atlanta my whole life. Raised my daughter Jasmine here after her daddy, Sergeant Marcus Washington, came home from Iraq in a flag-draped box when she was 7. I worked 35 years in the cafeteria at Frederick Douglass High, slinging tater tots and shepherd's pie, saving every penny so Jasmine could go to Spelman and become the lawyer she is today. I stood at the stove in my red flannel robe, humming "This Little Light of Mine" while the rolls baked. The radio played low, Donny Hathaway singing about Christmas. Outside, a rare Georgia snow dusted the yard, light and powdery, the kind that makes the kids on the block scream and run in circles. I smiled into my coffee mug. Jasmine's wedding was tomorrow. St. Regis Ballroom, Buckhead, ice sculptures, string quartet, 300 guests who'd never set foot west of I-75. I'd sewn her veil myself, ivory lace, tiny seed pearls I'd saved from my own mama's wedding dress. It hung on the back of the door, glowing in the morning light. My phone buzzed, a text from Jasmine. "Mama, can't wait to see you in that navy dress. You're gonna shine." I typed back, "Baby, I'll be the one in the corner clapping loudest." The doorbell rang, early for visitors. I wiped my hands on the dish towel and opened the door to find Mrs. Henderson from next door, arms full of a poinsettia. "Merry early Christmas, Evie. Thought your porch could use some red." I hugged her tight. "You're an angel, Sister Henderson. Come in, rolls are almost ready." She waved me off. "Gotta get to choir practice. Save me one." I set the plant on the table and checked the oven. Golden brown. Perfect. I was sliding them onto a rack when my phone rang. David Jr., Jasmine's godfather, federal judge, old family friend. He'd walked her down the aisle at graduation when Marcus couldn't. "Morning, Your Honor," I teased. "Evie, you sitting down?" I laughed, standing at the stove. "What's wrong?" A pause. "We need to talk. About tomorrow." My stomach dipped. "Jasmine okay?" "She's fine. It's the groom's family." "I got something you need to see. Can I come by?" I glanced at the clock. "Give me an hour." He was there in 30 minutes, snowflakes melting on his coat. He carried a manila envelope. We sat at the kitchen table. He didn't touch the rolls. "Evie," he said, voice low. "3 months ago, you asked me to look into Delphine Hargrove after she called you the help at the rehearsal dinner." I nodded. The memory stung. Delphine, tall, elegant, old Buckhead money, had looked me up and down in my Sunday best and said, "We're so grateful Jasmine has risen above her circumstances." David slid the envelope across. "Open it." Inside, bank statements, photos, hotel receipts. My hands went cold. The photos showed Delphine's son, Trenton Hargrove III, Jasmine's fiancé, in a midtown condo, but not with Jasmine, with Delphine, his own mother. Arms around each other, kissing, dates stamped over a year. I dropped the picture. Lord Jesus, there's more. David pulled out transfer records, $250,000 from Delphine's account to Trenton's monthly for 18 months. And this, he slid over a trust document, Jasmine's name, $3 million from Marcus's life insurance, invested by his battle buddy, triggered only upon marriage. My voice came out a whisper. "They planning something." David nodded. Audio, too. Trenton saying, "Once the ring's on, wait a year. Then the accident. Trust kicks in." Delphine laughing. "She'll never suspect." I stared at the cinnamon rolls cooling on the rack. The sweetness turned sour in my mouth. "How long you known?" 6 weeks. Been building a case. FBI's involved now. "But Evie, tomorrow's the wedding. We can stop it." I stood, walked to the window. Snow was falling harder now, sticking to the grass, the sidewalk, the roof of my old Buick. I thought of Jasmine at 7, standing in the same kitchen, tears on her cheeks, asking why her daddy wasn't coming home. I thought of the nights I worked doubles, hands cracked and bleeding from bleach water, just so she could have braces, dance lessons, college. I thought of the veil hanging on the door, every stitch a prayer. No, I said finally, we don't stop it. We let it happen, but on our terms. David frowned. What you mean? I mean, tomorrow night, at the reception, when Delphine thinks she's won, when she's smiling in her pearls and her power, we bring it all down, in front of everybody. Let the truth be the loudest thing in that ballroom. He studied me. You sure? I nodded. I've been quiet my whole life. Tomorrow, I speak. He left with the envelope. I stood in the kitchen a long time, watching the snow. The rolls went cold. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room with the tree lights blinking, the fire low. I pulled out my mama's old teacup, the one she used every Christmas morning. White china, gold rim, a hairline crack down the side from when I dropped it at 12. I never drank from it, too precious, too fragile. I held it in my hands and whispered, Lord, give me strength. The next day, wedding day, dawned white and still. Snow had stopped, but the world was covered. I dressed slow. The navy dress I'd sewn myself, simple but elegant. Pearl earrings Marcus gave me on our 10th anniversary. I looked in the mirror, 62 years old, lines around my eyes, hands rough from work. But my back was straight. Jasmine picked me up at noon. She glowed in her robe, hair in curlers, eyes bright. Mama, you ready? I smiled. Born ready, baby. The ceremony was beautiful. St. Philip's Cathedral. Jasmine walked down the aisle on David Jr.'s arm. Trenton waited at the altar, handsome in his tux. Delphine sat front row, diamonds flashing. I sat 3 rows back, hands folded, heart steady. Vows were said, rings exchanged. Kiss, applause. Then the reception. St. Regis Ballroom. Chandeliers like waterfalls of light. Tables draped in white linen. Ice one melting slowly. The string quartet played at last. Jasmine and Trenton danced. Delphine watched like a queen. I stood near the back, sipping water, waiting. The toast came. Delphine took the mic. To my son and his beautiful bride, she said, voice smooth as silk. Jasmine, we welcome you to the family. Though I must say, she turned to me, smile sharp, it's a miracle what education can do for certain backgrounds. Laughter rippled. My cheeks burned. But I smiled. Then she walked straight to me, held a silver teapot. This, she said, loud enough for the table to hear, is what you get for thinking you belong here. She poured, boiling sweet tea, over my head, down my face, my hair, my head. Gasps, someone screamed. Jasmine froze. The tea burned, scalded. I smelled sugar and lemon and hate. But I didn't move, didn't pry, didn't speak. I took the linen napkin from the table, wiped my face, slow, dignified, stood tall. Then I pulled out my phone, dialed the number I'd saved. It's time. I hung up, walked out, head high. Behind me, the ballroom doors closed.
The
And the
ballroom
snow
doors shut
began
behind
to
me
fall
with a
again.
soft, final click, like the closing of a coffin lid. The cold hit first, sharp, wet December air slicing through the scalding tea that still dripped from my hair. My navy dress clung to my skin, ruined. My scalp throbbed. My ears rang with the echo of Delphine's laugh and the stunned silence that followed. I stood on the marble steps of the St. Regis, snowflakes swirling around me like angry hornets. And for the first time in my life, I felt the full weight of 62 years pressing down on my chest. But I did not cry. I lifted my chin, took one breath, then another. The valet, a young brother in a red vest, rushed forward with an umbrella. "Ma'am, Miss Evie, are you okay? Let me get—" "No sugar," I said, voice steady. "I'm just fine. Call me a cab." He stared at the tea staining my dress, the red welts rising on my neck. "Ma'am, you need a doctor." "I need to go home." He hesitated, then nodded, ran inside. I stood alone under the portico lights, snow settling on my shoulders like forgiveness I hadn't earned yet. Inside, through the glass doors, I could see the crowd still frozen. Jasmine stood in the middle of the dance floor, white gown glowing, mouth open. Trenton beside her, face pale. Delphine at the head table, teapot still in hand, smile faltering. My phone buzzed in my clutch. David Jr. "FBI en route, 7 minutes. Hold the line." I typed back, "I'm gone. Let them find her holding the pot." The cab pulled up. I slid into the back seat. The driver, an older man with a Santa hat, glanced in the rear view. "Lord, sister, what happened?" "Long story," I said. "Cascade Avenue, West End, and turn the heat up, please." He did. We pulled away from the glittering lights of Buckhead, past mansions draped in white twinkle lights, past Phipps Plaza where folks shopped for gifts they didn't need. The snow thickened as we crossed the city, turning Peachtree Street into a river of slush and headlights. I watched Atlanta blur past, my Atlanta, the one with cracked sidewalks and corner stores, church steeples and front porch swings, the one Delphine Hargrove would never understand. My phone buzzed again. Jasmine. "Mama, where are you? I'm coming." I typed, "Stay, watch, learn who your mama really is." The cab turned onto Cascade. My little brick house sat quiet under the snow, porch light glowing like a beacon. I paid the driver, tipped him 20, and stepped out into the storm. The cold bit deep, but the pain on my skin felt honest, real, better than the burn of lies. I unlocked the door. The warmth hit me like a hug. The Christmas tree blinked in the corner. Multicolored lights, tinsel, the angel Jasmine made in 3rd grade out of pipe cleaners and glitter. The nativity on the mantel was missing a sheep, but baby Jesus lay peaceful in the straw. I kicked off my ruined shoes, peeled off the dress, and stood in my slip in front of the hallway mirror. My reflection stared back, graying hair plastered to my scalp, welts rising red across my collarbone, eyes older than time. But still me, still Miss Evie. Still the woman who'd buried a husband, raised a daughter, and never once let the world see her break. I walked to the kitchen, put the kettle on. Not for tea, for cocoa, the good kind with real milk and vanilla. I needed something warm that wouldn't scald. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find David Jr. on the porch, snow in his beard, FBI windbreaker under his coat. "They're in custody," he said. "Delphine's screaming about lawyers. Trenton's crying. She's on her way." I stepped aside. "Come in, Coco?" He nodded. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where Jasmine did homework, where Marcus carved the turkey every Thanksgiving. I poured 2 mugs. Steam curled between us. "Tell me everything," I said. He laid it out. The audio, the photos, the trust, the plan. Wait a year, stage a car accident on I-20, make it look like black ice, collect the $3 million, split it, start over. Delphine had even picked the cemetery plot. I listened, sipped cocoa, felt the burn on my skin fade to a dull ache. "And Lillian?" I asked. David frowned. "Who?" "David's first wife. The one he told me died. She's been living in Decatur, waiting. He never divorced her." David's eyes widened. "You're kidding me." "Wish I was." My phone buzzed. Jasmine again. "Mama, I'm outside." I opened the door. She stood on the porch in her wedding gown, snowflakes melting on the lace, mascara streaked down her cheeks. She looked 12 again, the night her daddy didn't come home. "Mama," she whispered, and fell into my arms. I held her, rocked her, the way I did when she was small and the world was too big. "Shush, baby, it's over." She pulled back. "They arrested them in front of everyone. The FBI just walked in. Delphine dropped the teapot. It shattered. Trenton tried to run. They tackled him on the dance floor." I led her inside, sat her at the table, poured her cocoa. She wrapped her hands around the mug like it was a lifeline. "How did you know?" she asked. I told her. The rehearsal dinner, the insult, the late nights David spent at the store, the key I found in his jacket, the attic, Lillian, the photos, the money, the plan. Jasmine listened. Tears fell into her cocoa. "I was gonna marry him," she said. "I loved him." "I know, baby." I looked away when she poured that tea. "I'm sorry." "You were scared. That's human." She looked up. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, "we heal and we make sure they never hurt anyone again." The storm raged outside. Power flickered. The tree lights dimmed, then brightened. Church bells tolled midnight, Christmas Eve. David Jr. stood. "I'll check on the agents, make sure the paperwork's tight. You two rest." He left. The door closed. Jasmine and I sat in the quiet. She reached for my hand. "Mama, the veil. You made it with Mama Washington's pearls." I did. "It's ruined." "No," I said. "It's just beginning." We sat like that until the cocoa was gone. Then I led her upstairs, to the guest room, the one with the quilt my mama made. I helped her out of the gown, careful, like unwrapping a gift. Hung it on the door. It glowed in the moonlight, snow tapping the window. "Sleep," I said. "Tomorrow's Christmas." She nodded, curled under the quilt. I kissed her forehead. Downstairs, I stood in the dark living room. The fire had died to embers. I opened the attic door, climbed the stairs slow. The air up there was cold, thick with dust and memory. Boxes lined the walls. David's handwriting on the labels. Taxes, 1998. Photos, Army. I opened one. Inside, letters. Hundreds to Lillian. From David. "I miss you. I'm sorry. I'll come soon." Photos of a baby. Levi, I realized. Trenton's half-brother. Birthday cards. Christmas cards. A lock of hair tied with blue ribbon. I sat on the floor. Snow creaked the roof. I read until my eyes burned. Then I heard it. A car in the driveway. Headlights cut through the dark. Door slammed. I stood, walked to the window. David's truck, and another car. A woman got out, Lillian, and two kids, teen boy, little girl. They stood in the snow, looking at the house. I opened the attic window. Cold rushed in. "Lillian," I called. She looked up, eyes wide. "Come in," I said. "All y'all, it's warm." They hesitated, then walked to the door. I went downstairs, opened it. Lillian stood on the porch, snow in her hair. The boy, Levi, tall, quiet. The girl, Gracie, clutching a stuffed reindeer. "Ruth Ann," Lillian said, "I didn't know where else to go." "You're home now," I said. They came in, coats off, boots by the door. I made more cocoa, found blankets, sat them by the fire. Jasmine came down in her robe, saw them, froze. "Mama? Meet your brother and sister, and your daddy's first wife." She stared, then walked to Gracie, knelt. "Hi," she said. "I'm Jasmine." Gracie smiled. "You're pretty." Jasmine laughed, wet, broken, real. We sat up all night, talking, crying, laughing at the absurdity. The snow kept falling. the world outside disappeared. And in the quiet, I felt it, the shift, the breaking, the beginning. But dawn was coming,
The house
and with
didn't
it,
sleep.
more
Not
truth.
really. Snow kept falling, thick and heavy, sealing us inside like a letter in an envelope nobody wanted to open. The Christmas tree lights blinked slow, red, green, gold, like they were trying to remember how to shine. The fire had burned down to embers, casting long shadows across the living room where 5 souls sat in a circle of truth and ruin. Jasmine, still in her wedding gown, curled on the couch with Gracie's head in her lap. Levi slouched in the armchair, hoodie up, eyes on the floor. Lillian sat on the hearth, hands wrapped around a mug that had gone cold hours ago. And me, Miss Evie, 62 years strong, I stood by the window, watching the snow pile against the glass, listening to the wind howl like it knew every secret we'd just laid bare. It was past 3 in the morning, Christmas Eve bleeding into Christmas Day. The church bells had stopped. The world outside was white and silent. But inside, the air crackled. Not with anger anymore, not with fear, with something deeper, something ancient, the kind of reckoning that only comes when lies finally run out of room to hide. I turned from the window. My voice came out soft, but it carried. "Lillian," I said, "tell me how it started." She looked up. Her eyes, David's eyes, were red-rimmed, tired, but steady. "1979, she said. "Georgia State. I was 19. David was 21. ROT. Handsome, funny, said he wanted to be a hero." She smiled, small and sad. "We met at a fish fry behind the student center. He kissed me under the magnolia tree, said I tasted like summer." Jasmine stirred. "Daddy?" Lillian nodded. "Your daddy. He asked me to marry him 6 months later. I said yes. Then he shipped out. Basic training. I found out I was pregnant. Levi." She glanced at the boy in the hoodie. "Wrote him every day. He wrote back at first. Then the letters slowed. Then stopped. Last one said, 'I met someone. She's good. I'm sorry.'" I walked to the mantel, picked up the teacup, the one I never drank from, held it in both hands. "That's someone," I said. Lillian nodded. "I know. I didn't then. I waited, had Levi alone, lived with my aunt in Decatur. David sent money, never missed a birthday, never came. Said he couldn't. Said it would break her heart." "Her," I repeated. The word tasted like rust. "I didn't know he married you," Lillian said. "Not till Levi was 5. Found the wedding announcement in the paper. Ruth Ann Washington weds David Caldwell. I cried for 3 days. Then I stopped. Raised my boy. Had Gracie. Kept waiting." Gracie sat up, rubbed her eyes. "Is Miss Evie my grandma too?" Jasmine's breath hitched. I knelt in front of the child, tucked a curl behind her ear. "Honey, I'm whatever you need me to be." Levi spoke for the first time, voice low, rough. "He told us you were dead, car wreck. Said Mama Ruth died before he met Mama Lillian. Said that's why he couldn't bring us together." I looked at him, really looked. 17, tall, shoulders just starting to fill out. David's nose, my mama's mouth. "I ain't dead, and I ain't going nowhere." He nodded, once, like a soldier receiving orders. I stood, walked to the attic door. It still hung open, dark and yawning. "There's more up there," I said. "Letters, photos, truth he buried. Y'all want to see?" Jasmine stood. "I do." Lillian too. Levi hesitated, then followed. Gracie clung to Jasmine's hand. We climbed the stairs slow. The attic smelled of dust and cedar and old grief. Moonlight slanted through the small window, painting everything silver. Boxes lined the walls, labeled in David's neat handwriting. Taxes, Army, Jasmine. I opened the one marked Lillian. Inside, hundreds of letters, some in envelopes, some loose, all to her, all from him. I pulled one out, read aloud. Lil, Jasmine learned to walk today. She took 3 steps and fell into my arms. I wish you could have seen it. I wish I could tell Ruth Ann, but I can't. She'd leave, and I can't lose her, not after Marcus died. She's all I got. I'm sorry. David. Jasmine took the letter, read it again, silent. Another, 1998. Levi's in Little League, hit a home run. I watched from the bleachers, wore a hat low. Ruth Ann thinks I'm at the store. I hate lying, but I love them both. How do you choose? Gracie found a photo, held it up. David, young, in uniform, holding baby Levi. Lillian beside him, smiling. On the back, Our Family, 1982. I kept digging. Found a second box, unlabeled, locked. I pulled the brass key from my robe pocket, the one I'd found in David's jacket months ago. Clicked it open. Inside, bank books, deposit slips, a life insurance policy, my name, $500,000. Beneficiary, David Caldwell, dated last year. And a letter, sealed, addressed to me. I opened it. Evie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Or you know. I never deserved you. I never deserved any of them. The money's yours. All of it. The house, the store, everything. I tried to fix it. Tried to tell you. But I was scared. Forgive me. Or don't. I loved you most. David. My hands shook. Just once. Jasmine read over my shoulder. Mama? I folded the letter, tucked it back. There's more, I said. Downstairs, in the safe. We went down. I opened the false bottom in the china cabinet, the one Marcus built. Inside, a flash drive, labeled D&T. I plugged it into the laptop on the kitchen counter. Audio files, dozens. I clicked the first. Trenton's voice. Mama, once the trust hits, we stage the accident. Black ice, I-20. She'll be driving home from the firm. Easy. Delphine, laughing. And the cafeteria lady? She'll be too broken to fight. We'll say she's senile. Get power of attorney, liquidate everything. Another file. Video, grainy. Hotel room. Delphine and Trenton. Kissing, planning, counting money. Jasmine covered her mouth. Levi cursed under his breath, the first real emotion he'd shown. Lillian sank into a chair. I closed the laptop. This, I said, is what they planned. Not just to kill you, baby, to erase me, to take everything your daddy and I built, everything I bled for. Gracie started crying, quiet, scared. Jasmine picked her up, held her close. I'm sorry, Levi said, to me, to Jasmine. I didn't know. He just said, send the money, keep quiet, said it was for college. I walked to him, put a hand on his shoulder. You're not him, I said. You're better. He nodded, tears in his eyes. The power surged, lights flickered, came back on full. The Christmas tree blazed, the nativity glowed, the teacup on the mantel caught the light, cracked but whole. I looked at the clock, 5:17 a.m. Dawn's coming, and with it, David. Lillian stood. He's coming here? He always does. Christmas morning, brings donuts from Sublime, says it's tradition. Jasmine's eyes harden. Let him come. We waited. The snow stopped just before 6. The world outside was white and clean, like it had been washed. Headlights cut through the dark. David's truck. He got out, carrying a pink box, walked slow, like a man going to his own funeral. He opened the door without knocking, stopped, saw us all. The box fell. Donuts rolled across the floor. Evie, he whispered. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Merry Christmas, David. He looked at Lillian, at Levi, at Gracie in Jasmine's arms. I can explain. No, I said.
You're done explaining. Now you listen. I stepped aside. FBI agents filled the doorway, David Jr. behind them. David Caldwell, the lead agent said, "You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, insurance fraud, and accessory to attempted murder." David didn't fight, just looked at me. "I loved you," he said. I looked back, steady. "I know." They cuffed him, led him out. The door closed. Silence. Then Jasmine spoke. "Mama, what do we do now?" I looked at the family in my living room. Broken, beautiful. "Now," I said, "we open presents." We did. Gracie got a doll. Levi got a Georgia Tech hoodie. Lillian got a necklace, my mama's pearls. Jasmine got the veil, cleaned, pressed, perfect. And me, I got the teacup. I filled it,
The donuts
drank.
that rolled across
It
the
didn't
floor.
burn.
The pink box lay on its side like a wounded bird, lid half open, powdered sugar dusting the hardwood in soft white clouds. Donuts had scattered everywhere, one jelly-filled oozing red onto the rug, a glazed one cracked in half, a chocolate-frosted one rolling slow toward the Christmas tree like it was trying to escape. The smell of yeast and sugar hung heavy in the air, mixing with the pine and the cold that had followed David in. I stood in the doorway between kitchen and living room, arms still crossed, watching the man I'd loved for 31 years being led away in handcuffs. His boots left wet prints on my floor. The agents' voices faded down the porch steps. The truck door slammed. Engine started. Tires crunched snow. Then, nothing. Just the donuts and us. Gracie broke the silence first. She slid off the couch, patted over in her sock feet, and picked up the jelly donut. Held it up like evidence. "Can I still eat this, Miss Evie?" I looked at her, 8 years old, gap-toothed, David's eyes in a face that had never known him as anything but a check in the mail. My heart cracked open, but I smiled. "Wash your hands first, sugar, then yes." She grinned and ran to the kitchen. Levi followed, hoodie still up, but his shoulders weren't as tight. Lillian stayed on the hearth, staring at the empty doorway like she expected David to walk back in and say it was all a joke. Jasmine stood beside me, wedding gown trailing, veil in her hands like a surrender flag. "Mama," she whispered, "what do we do with the mess?" I looked at the donuts, at the sugar, at the footprints, at the life that had just been upended in my living room on Christmas morning. "We clean it," I said. "Then we eat." We did. I got the broom, Jasmine got the dustpan, Levi carried the box to the trash. Lillian wiped the rug with a damp cloth. Gracie washed her hands and ate her donuts standing at the counter, jelly on her chin. We moved like a family that had always belonged together, like the years of separation had been a bad dream we were finally waking from. When the floor was clean, I opened the fridge, pulled out the ham I'd baked yesterday, the macaroni I'd made from scratch, the collards slow-cooked with smoked turkey, the cornbread in the cast-iron skillet. I set the oven to warm. Lillian found the plates, Jasmine set the table. Levi carried chairs from the dining room. Gracie folded napkins into little trees. We ate at 7:03 a.m. Christmas morning. Snow still covered the world outside, but inside, the kitchen glowed. The radio played low, Mahalia Jackson singing Sweet Little Jesus Boy. We passed the food, said grace, held hands. Lillian spoke first. "I never had a Christmas like this." Jasmine squeezed her hand. "You do now." Levi ate 3 pieces of cornbread. Gracie asked for seconds on mac and cheese. I watched them, my daughter, my stepchildren, my husband's other life, and felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but space, room to breathe. After breakfast, we opened presents. I'd wrapped them weeks ago, before I knew, before the tea, before the truth. For Jasmine, a locket with Marcus's photo inside. She cried when she opened it. For Lillian, my mama's Bible, leather-bound, pages soft from years of use. She held it to her chest like it was gold. For Levi, a Georgia Tech hoodie and a savings bond I'd started when he was born. David had told me it was for a nephew. I believed him. For Gracie, a doll with braids and a red dress. She named her Ruthie. And for me, Jasmine handed me a small box. Inside, a new teacup, white china, gold rim, no crack. I saw you looking at it in Lenox Square, she said, before everything. I held it, felt the weight, the smoothness, the possibility. We cleaned up, washed dishes, sang along to the radio. The snow started again, soft, lazy flakes. The power stayed on. The tree lights blinked steady. At 9:17, the doorbell rang. David Jr. stood on the porch, snow in his beard, carrying a folder. "Merry Christmas," he said. "Got something for you." We gathered in the living room. He opened the folder. David's talking, full confession. Said Delphine masterminded it. He was just the money man, sent the checks, kept the secrets, thought if he paid enough, it wouldn't hurt anyone. I nodded. And the trust? Safe. Jasmine's name only. Triggered yesterday. Legal marriage. Delphine can't touch it. FBI froze her accounts. Trenton's singing too. They're turning on each other. Lillian spoke. What about the kids? Levi and Gracie are David's. DNA confirmed. He's petitioning for custody from jail. Wants them with you, Evie. Says you're the only one he trusts. I looked at the children, at Jasmine, at the tree. They're already home, I said. David Jr. smiled. One more thing. He handed me an envelope, official, from the DA. Delphine's plea deal. She'll do 15 years. Trenton 10. They want to avoid trial, avoid the headlines. I took it, didn't open it. Tell them yes, I said, but I want one thing. Name it. Visitation, once, before sentencing. I want to look her in the eye. He nodded. Done. He left. The house settled. We drank coffee, watched the snow, played Uno at the kitchen table. Gracie won 3 times. Levi laughed, really laughed, when Jasmine accused him of cheating. At noon, I went to the attic. The boxes were still there. I opened another. Found David's medals, his discharge papers. A photo of him and Marcus in Iraq, arms around each other, smiling. On the back, brothers forever. I sat on the floor, held the photo, cried, quiet. The kind of crying that doesn't make noise but empties you all the same. Jasmine found me, sat beside me. Mama? I showed her the photo. She traced Marcus's face. He'd be proud of you. I hope so. We stayed up there a long time. Went through every box, every letter, every memory. Some hurt, some healed. At 3, we came down. Lillian had made hot chocolate, real whipped cream. We sat by the fire, told stories. About Marcus, about David, about the lives we'd lived apart. Gracie fell asleep on the couch. Levi carried her to the guest room. Jasmine tucked her in. I stood at the window, watched the snow. Thought about the teacup, the new one, the old one, the one I'd never drunk from. Lillian joined me. Thank you, she said. For what? For not hating me. I looked at her. I hated the lie, not you. She nodded, tears in her eyes. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Mrs. Henderson, arms full of a honey-baked ham. Figured y'all might need dinner, she said. Heard about the wedding. Lord have mercy. I hugged her. Come in, meet the family. She did. Stayed 2 hours, ate ham, sang carols, left with a plate and a promise to bring pound cake tomorrow. Dark came early. The snow stopped. The sky cleared. Stars shop and bright. We turned off all the lights except the tree, sat in the glow, silent. Jasmine spoke. Mama, what happens after this? I looked at the children, at Lillian, at the teacup on the mantel, new, whole, waiting. We live, I said. We love. We heal. One Christmas at a time. Levi stood, walked to the tree, picked up an ornament, a clay handprint. Gracie's from preschool. Can we hang this? He asked. I smiled. It's been waiting for you. He hung it front and center. The tree looked complete. We went to bed at 10, exhausted, full, whole. I lay in my bed, our bed, alone. The sheets smelled like David. I didn't change them, not yet. I dreamed of tea, sweet, hot, burning. But in the dream, I drank
that
it,
held the truth.
and it didn't hurt.
Christmas Day melted into the kind of quiet that only comes after a storm has torn the roof off your life and left you standing in the wreckage, blinking at the sky.
The snow outside my little house on Cascade Avenue had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving behind a world so white it hurt to look at. The sun rose slow, pale gold, through the icicles hanging from the gutters like glass daggers. I woke at 6:47 a.m. to the sound of Gracie giggling in the kitchen, her voice high and bright, chasing the last shadows of the night. I lay in bed a long minute, staring at the ceiling crack that had been there since Jasmine was 3. David used to say he'd fix it. Never did. I smiled at the crack now. Some things you learn to live with. I slipped into my robe, the red flannel one with the snowflakes, and padded downstairs. The house smelled of coffee and cinnamon. Lillian stood at the stove, flipping pancakes in the shape of stars. Levi sat at the table, hoodie off for the first time, hair twisted into neat cornrows that Jasmine must have done while I slept. Gracie danced around in her new doll's dress, singing Jingle Bells off-key. Jasmine leaned against a counter, arms crossed, watching them with soft eyes. "Morning, Mama," she said when she saw me. "Morning, baby." I kissed her forehead, then Lillian's cheek, then ruffled Levi's hair. Gracie hugged my legs. "Miss Evie, Mama Lillian says we're making snow cream later." I laughed. "We sure are, but first, breakfast." We ate at the table, pancakes, bacon, scrambled eggs, orange juice in the good glasses. The radio played low, Nat King Cole crooning about chestnuts. Outside, kids on the block were already sledding down the hill on cafeteria trays. Their shouts drifted in through the window, muffled by snow. After breakfast, we bundled up, coats, scarves, boots. I found David's old gloves in the hall closet, still smelled like him, leather and motor oil. I gave them to Levi. He pulled them on without a word. We built a snowman in the front yard. Gracie named him Mr. Jellybean. Levi packed the snow tight. Jasmine carved a smile with a stick. Lillian added pinecone eyes. I wrapped my scarf around his neck, red and green, hand-knitted the year Marcus deployed. We took a picture with Jasmine's phone. 5 faces, 1 family. Inside, we made snow cream, vanilla, sugar, a splash of cream. Ate it in bowls by the fire. Gracie got it on her nose. Levi licked his clean in 3 bites. At noon, David Jr. called. "Delphine wants the visit," he said. "Today, 2 o'clock, Fulton County Jail. You still sure?" I looked at the family on my couch, at the teacup on the mantel, new, whole, waiting. "I'm sure." I told them. Lillian's face went tight. Jasmine's eyes hardened. Levi looked away. Gracie didn't understand. "I'll be back by 4, I said. "Hams in the oven, collards on the stove. Y'all hold the fort." Jasmine walked me to the door. "Mama, what you gon' say?" I touched her cheek. The truth, same as always. The jail was cold, gray, smelled of bleach and despair. They led me to a room with a metal table, 2 chairs, a camera in the corner. Delphine sat on the other side, orange jumpsuit too big, hair flat, no makeup. She looked smaller, older, human. "Ruth Ann," she said when I sat, voice flat. "Delphine." Silence. She leaned forward. "You won." I shook my head. "Ain't no winning here, just surviving." She laughed, bitter. "You think you're better than me, always did." "I think I'm honest," I said. "That's all." Her eyes filled. "Trenton's gone. My account's frozen. My name in the paper. Buckhead matriarch arrested for murder plot. You did this." "I protected my child," I said, "same as any mother." She looked at her hands. "I loved him. Trenton, my son. I thought if we had the money, we could start over, be free." From what? From pretending, from the board meetings, the galas, the smiles that hurt, from being perfect. She looked up. "You never had to pretend." I leaned in. Every day I pretended that my husband wasn't lying, that my daughter was safe, that I was enough. Don't you dare tell me I didn't pretend. She flinched. I stood. 15 years. You'll live. Maybe you'll learn something, maybe not, but you'll never touch my family again. I turned to go. Ruth Ann. I stopped. I'm sorry, she whispered, for the tea. I looked back. I know. I left. The drive home was quiet. Snowplows rumbled past. Kids waved from sleds. I stopped at Millie's Bakery, bought a dozen donuts, glazed, jelly, chocolate, paid with cash. When I walked in, the house smelled of ham and greens. The table was set. Lillian had found the good china. Jasmine had lit candles. Levi had shoveled the walk. Gracie had drawn a picture, stick figures holding hands under a Christmas tree, labeled My Family. We ate at 5, laughed, told stories about Marcus teaching Jasmine to ride a bike, about Levi's first home run, about Lillian's mama's peach cobbler, about the year the Christmas tree fell and we laughed till we cried. After dinner, we watched It's a Wonderful Life on the old TV. Gracie fell asleep on my lap. Levi carried her to bed. Jasmine and Lillian did dishes. I sat by the fire, teacup in hand, the new one, filled it with cocoa, drank. At 9, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Trenton. Orange jumpsuit, cuffs, 2 guards. 5 minutes, supervised. I stepped aside. He walked in, looked around, at the tree, the table, the family. Miss Evie, he said, voice small. Sit. He sat on the couch, hands in lap. I'm sorry, he said, for everything, for loving her, for planning it, for hurting Jasmine. Jasmine stood in the doorway, arms crossed. You don't get to say her name, she said. He knows. I sat across from him. Why? He looked at his hands. Mama said it was the only way. Said Jasmine didn't deserve it. Said I did. Said love was weakness. I believed her. Lillian spoke from the kitchen. Love ain't weakness. It's strength. He looked up. Tears. I see that now. The guard checked his watch. Time. Trenton stood. Miss Evie, thank you for not hating me. I stood too. I hate what you did, not who you are. He nodded, left. The door closed. Silence. Then Jasmine spoke. I forgive him. We all looked at her. Not for him, for me, so I can sleep. I pulled her close. That's my girl. We went to bed at 11. The house settled. Snow creaked the roof. The tree lights blinked slow. I lay awake, thought about the teacup, the old one, the new one, the one I'd never drunk from. I got up, went to the kitchen, opened the cabinet, took out the old teacup, the cracked one, filled it with water from the kettle, drank. It tasted like memory, like strength,
that let the light in.
like tomorrow.
The day after Christmas always feels like the world took a deep breath and forgot to exhale. The snow had crusted over into a hard shell that crunched under boots and reflected the sun so bright it made your eyes water. I woke at 5:59 a.m. to the sound of the furnace kicking on and the soft clink of a spoon against a mug. The house smelled of coffee and leftover ham. I lay still for a minute, listening to the new rhythm of my home, 4 heartbeats instead of 2. Lillian's quiet humming from the kitchen, Levi's heavy footsteps overhead, Gracie's giggle muffled through the ceiling, Jasmine's bed creaking as she turned over. I smiled into the dark. Then I got up. I slipped into my robe and house shoes and padded downstairs. Lillian stood at the stove, stirring grits slow, the way my mama taught me, wooden spoon, low heat, patience. She wore one of my old nightgowns, hem dragging the floor. Her hair was wrapped in the silk scarf Jasmine gave her last night. "Morning," I said. She turned, smiled soft. "Morning, Ruth Ann. Coffee's ready." I poured a mug, black, 2 sugars, leaned against the counter and watched her cook. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It was full of understanding. You sleep? I asked. Some. Dreamed about David, young David, before everything. I nodded. I dreamed about Marcus. He was laughing, said I did good. She smiled again. He always said that. We ate breakfast at the table. Grits, scrambled eggs, toast with muscadine jelly I'd canned last summer. Levi came down in the Georgia Tech hoodie, hair still in cornrows. Gracie bounced in wearing the doll dress over pajamas. Jasmine followed, eyes puffy but clear. We didn't talk about yesterday, not yet. We talked about snow cream and sledding and whether the ham would stretch to sandwiches. We talked about church on Sunday and whether Pastor Jenkins would mention the wedding in the announcements. We talked about anything but the jail and the orange jumpsuits and the teacup that still sat on the mantel, cracked but unbroken. After breakfast, I called David Jr. Need a favor? I said. Name it. David's lawyer. I want a meeting. Today. 1. His office downtown. He didn't ask why. Done. I hung up. Looked at the family. I'm going to see him, I said. Alone. Jasmine started to protest. I raised a hand. He owes me 31 years. I'm collecting. They nodded, trusted me. I dressed slow. Black slacks, cream sweater, pearl earrings Marcus gave me. The navy coat I'd worn to the wedding, tea stains gone, thanks to Lillian's baking soda magic. I looked in the mirror. 62, strong, ready. The law office was on Peachtree, 23rd floor, windows looking out over the city blanketed in white. David sat at the conference table in a gray suit, no tie, hands cuffed to the chair. His lawyer, a young white man with a nervous tic, stood when I entered. Mrs. Caldwell, Washington, always was. David looked up. His eyes were red, beard scruffy. He'd lost weight. Evie. I sat across from him, folded my hands. Talk. He swallowed. I never meant. Start at the beginning. He did. Georgia State, Lillian, the pregnancy, the fear, the running. Meeting me at the church picnic in '83. Marcus introducing us. The spark, the guilt. The wedding in '85. Jasmine in '89. The lies stacking like bricks. I thought I could keep it separate, he said. 2 lives, 2 families. I sent money, visited when I could, told myself it was enough. It wasn't, I said. I know. Delphine? He looked down. She found out. 2015. Saw a bank transfer. Confronted me. Said she'd ruin me, ruin Jasmine, unless I helped. Said Trenton needed a future. Said the trust was fair game. I was weak, scared. I said yes. I leaned forward. You plan to kill my child? He flinched. No, never, I swear. I was supposed to delay, stall. I thought if I dragged it out, they'd give up. But they moved faster. The wedding, the accident plan. I tried to stop it. Called Delphine the night before. She laughed, said it was too late. I studied him. The man I'd loved. The man who'd held me when Marcus died. Who'd danced with Jasmine at her sweet 16. Who'd fixed the porch step every spring. You should have told me. I know. Silence. His lawyer cleared his throat. Miss Washington, the DA's offering 20 years. Plea deal. No trial. He'll testify against Delphine and Trenton. Full immunity on the murder plot. Fraud only. I looked at David. You taking it? He nodded. Yes. I stood. Then this is goodbye. He started to stand. The cuffs stopped him. Evie. I walked to the door. Tell the kids I love them, he said. All of them. I paused. Hand on the knob. I will. I left. The drive home was quiet. Snowplows had cleared the main roads. Kids waved from snow forts. I stopped at the Kroger on Cascade. Bought milk, eggs, bacon, cocoa, marshmallows. Paid with the debit card that still had David's name on the account. I'll fix that tomorrow. When I walked in, the house smelled of pine and cinnamon. Lillian had vacuumed. Jasmine had dusted. Levi had taken out the trash. Gracie had drawn another picture, Mr. Jellybean with the family around him. We made snow cream again, ate it on the porch, watched the sun set pink and gold over the white world. At 7, the doorbell rang. A courier, envelope, official. Inside, divorce papers, signed by David. Everything to me. House, store, savings, truck, no contest. I signed too. Jasmine witnessed. We burnt the copies in the fireplace, watched the flames eat 31 years. Lillian cried, quiet. Jasmine held her. Levi asked, "What happens to us?" I looked at him. "You stay. School starts back January 6. You'll enroll at Douglas. Jasmine'll help with the paperwork. Gracie, too. We'll figure custody. You're home." He nodded, eyes wet. Gracie hugged my legs. "Can we call you Grandma?" I knelt. "Yes, baby, you can." We watched the fire, drank cocoa, sang This Little Light of Mine. Gracie fell asleep on the couch. Levi carried her to bed. Jasmine and Lillian did dishes. I sat by the tree. The teacup, the old one, sat on the mantel, cracked but unbroken. After breakfast, I picked up the teacup, filled it with water from the kettle, drank. It tasted like freedom. At 10, we went to bed. The house settled. Snow creaked the roof. The tree lights blinked slow. I lay awake, thought about tomorrow, about the store, about the kids, about the teacup. I got up, went to the kitchen, opened the cabinet, took out the new teacup, filled it with cocoa, drank.
The morning of December
tasted like
27th broke
tomorrow.
clear and cold, the kind of Georgia winter day where the sky is so blue it hurts to look at, and the snow glitters like somebody scattered diamonds across the yard. I woke at 5:42 a.m. to the sound of the coffee pot gurgling and the soft clatter of pans. The house smelled of bacon and biscuits and something sweet, cinnamon rolls maybe. I lay still for a minute, listening to the new heartbeat of my home. Lillian's quiet humming, Levi's footsteps overhead, Gracie's giggle, Jasmine's laugh. 4 souls under one roof, stitched together by truth and snow and the kind of love that doesn't ask permission. I slipped into my robe and house shoes and padded downstairs. Lillian stood at the stove, flipping bacon with the same wooden spatula I'd used for 30 years. She wore one of my old aprons, red with white snowflakes, hem frayed from too many washings. Her hair was wrapped in the silk scarf Jasmine gave her. She looked like she belonged. "Morning," I said. She turned, smiled soft. "Morning, Ruth Ann. Biscuits in the oven, coffee's ready." I poured a mug, black, 2 sugars, leaned against the counter and watched her cook. The silence between us was easy now, full of grace. "You sleep?" I asked. "Like a baby," she said. "First time in years." I nodded. Me too. We ate at the table. Bacon, eggs, biscuits with sausage gravy, cinnamon rolls sticky with icing. Levi came down in the Georgia Tech hoodie, hair still in cornrows. Gracie bounced in wearing the doll dress over pajamas. Jasmine followed, eyes bright, no puffiness. We didn't talk about jail or divorce or the wedding that wasn't. We talked about school and snow forts and whether the ham would stretch to sandwiches. We talked about church on Sunday and whether Pastor Jenkins would mention the scandal. We talked about anything but the teacup that still sat on the mantel, cracked but unbroken. After breakfast, we bundled up. Coats, scarves, boots. I found David's old scarf in the hall closet. Still smelled like him. Cedar and motor oil. I gave it to Levi. He wrapped it around his neck without a word. We went to the store, David's Hardware on Campbellton Road. I'd closed it Christmas week, but today we opened. Snowplows had cleared the lot. The sign flickered. Red letters, half the bulbs burned out. I flipped the switch. The lights came on. The bell above the door jingled. Inside smelled of sawdust and nails and pine cleaner. The Christmas tree in the corner still blinked, multicolored lights, tinsel, the star Jasmine made in 3rd grade. The radio played low, Aretha Franklin singing Respect. Levi walked the aisle slow, touching tools like they were treasures.
Gracie rode the flat cart, giggling. Lillian found the paint section, ran her fingers over the color chips. Jasmine stood at the counter, hands on hips. "Mama," she said, "we keeping it?" I looked around, the shelves, the register, the photo of Marcus and David behind the counter, arms around each other, smiling. "We're renaming it," I said. "Washington and Sons. Levi's learning the books, you're handling legal, Lillian's on paint and design, Gracie's official taste tester." Gracie cheered, Levi grinned, Lillian's eyes filled. We worked all morning, stocked shelves, swept floors, fixed the flickering sign. Customers came, neighbors, church folks, curious strangers. Mrs. Henderson brought pound cake. Mr. Jenkins from the barber shop brought gossip. We sold nails, paint, light bulbs, hope. At noon, we ate lunch on the counter, ham sandwiches, chips, sweet tea in styrofoam cups. The radio played This Christmas. We sang along. At 2, the doorbell jingled. A woman walked in, tall, dark-skinned, braids to her waist, carrying a manila envelope. "Miss Evie?" she asked. I nodded. "From the DA, final paperwork." I took it, opened it. Inside, Delphine's plea deal. 15 years. Trenton's, 10. David's, 20. All signed, all final. I handed it to Jasmine. "File it." She nodded, tucked it in her bag. The woman left. The bell jingled. We closed at 5, counted the till, $1,237. Not bad for a soft opening. Locked up, drove home in the truck. Levi in the passenger seat, Gracie in the back, Lillian and Jasmine in the bed under blankets, laughing at the cold. Dinner was leftovers. Ham, collards, mac and cheese, cornbread. We ate by candlelight. The power had flickered again. We didn't mind. After dinner, we decorated cookies. Sugar cookies shaped like stars, trees, bells, icing in red, green, white. Sprinkles everywhere. Gracie got it on her nose. Levi licked his fingers clean. Lillian made a perfect poinsettia. Jasmine wrote family in red icing across a big star. We hung them on the tree. The branches sagged under the weight of sugar and love. At 8, we went to church, evening service. Pastor Jenkins didn't mention the wedding. He preached on forgiveness, on second chances, on the light that finds the crack. We sang Go Tell It on the Mountain. Gracie's voice rang clear. Levi's bass rumbled low. Lillian harmonized. Jasmine held my hand. After church, we drove home slow. The streets were quiet. Snow glowed under streetlights. We parked, walked inside. The house smelled of cookies and pine and home. We sat by the fire, drank cocoa, told stories about Marcus teaching Levi to throw a football in the yard before Levi knew who he was, about Lillian's mama's peach cobbler, about the year the Christmas tree fell and we laughed till we cried. Gracie fell asleep on the couch. Levi carried her to bed. Jasmine tucked her in. Lillian did dishes. I sat by the tree. The teacup, the old one, sat on the mantel, cracked but waiting. I picked it up, filled it with cocoa, drank. It tasted like healing. At 10, we went to bed. The house settles, snow creaked the roof. The tree lights blinked slow. I lay awake, thought about tomorrow, about the store, about the kids, about the teacup. I got up, went to the kitchen, opened the cabinet, took out the new teacup, filled it with water, drank.
The tea
It
that
tasted
never
like
cooled.
beginning.
December 31st dawned like a promise kept. The snow had settled into a thick, glittering quilt over West End, turning every roof into a postcard and every breath into a small cloud of wonder. I woke at 5:11 a.m. to the hush of the furnace and the soft creak of floorboards overhead. Levi pacing, probably nervous about his first official day at the store. The house smelled of pine, cinnamon, and the faint sweetness of yesterday's cookies still hanging on the tree. I lay still for a minute, listening to the new heartbeat of my home. Lillian humming Auld Lang Syne in the kitchen, Gracie's giggle, Jasmine's laugh, the clink of a spoon against a mug. 5 souls under one roof, stitched together by truth, snow, and the kind of love that doesn't need a ring to be real. I slipped into my robe, the red flannel one with the snowflakes, and padded downstairs. Lillian stood at the stove, stirring oatmeal slow, raisins plumping in the pot. She wore my old apron, red with white snowflakes, hem frayed from too many washings. Her hair was wrapped in the silk scarf Jasmine gave her. She looked like she'd always belonged. "Morning," I said. She turned, smiled soft. "Morning, Ruth Ann. Coffee's ready. Black-eyed peas are soaking for tomorrow. Good luck for the new year." I poured a mug, black, 2 sugars, leaned against the counter and watched her cook. The silence between us was easy now, full of grace. "You sleep?" I asked. "Like a baby," she said. "First time in 30 years." I nodded. Me too. We ate at the table, oatmeal with raisins and brown sugar, bacon, biscuits with muscadine jelly I'd canned last summer. Levi came down in the Georgia Tech hoodie, hair still in cornrows, eyes bright. Gracie bounced in wearing the doll dress over pajamas. Jasmine followed, eyes clear, no puffiness. We didn't talk about jail or divorce or the wedding that wasn't. We talked about the store and New Year's resolutions and whether the ham would stretch to sandwiches. We talked about church on Sunday and whether Pastor Jenkins would mention the scandal. We talked about anything but the teacup that still sat on the mantel, cracked but unbroken. After breakfast, we bundled up. Coats, scarves, boots. I found David's old scarf in the hall closet. Still smelled like him. Cedar and motor oil. I gave it to Levi. He wrapped it around his neck without a word. We opened the store at 9 o'clock sharp. Washington & Sons Hardware. New sign, hand-painted by Lillian, red letters on white. The bell jingled. The Christmas tree in the corner still blinked. Multicolored lights, tinsel, the star Jasmine made in 3rd grade. The radio played low, Donny Hathaway singing This Christmas. Customers came, neighbors, church folks, curious strangers. Mrs. Henderson brought pound cake. Mr. Jenkins from the barber shop brought gossip. We sold nails, paint, light bulbs, hope. At noon, we ate lunch on the counter. Ham sandwiches, chips, sweet tea in styrofoam cups. The radio played Auld Lang Syne. We sang along. At 2 o'clock, the doorbell jingled. A courier, envelope, official. Inside, the final trust documents. $3 million. Jasmine's name only. Signed, sealed, delivered. I handed it to her. "Your future, baby." She cried. Quiet. Levi hugged her. Gracie danced. Lillian smiled. We closed at 5. Counted the till, $2,114. Best day ever. Locked up, drove home in the truck. Levi driving, license fresh, Jasmine in the passenger seat, Gracie, Lillian, and me in the bed under blankets, laughing at the cold. Dinner was black-eyed peas, collards, cornbread, ham. We ate by candlelight. The power had flickered again. We didn't mind. After dinner, we decorated the tree for New Year's. Silver tinsel, white lights, paper snowflakes Gracie cut with safety scissors. We hung the cookies we'd iced yesterday. The branches sagged under the weight of sugar and love. At 8, we went to the porch, watched the neighborhood light up. Fireworks from the park, sparklers in yards, kids shouting. We had our own, Roman candles Levi bought with his first paycheck. We lit them in the snow, red, green, gold. Gracie squealed. Jasmine took pictures. Lillian held my hand. At 10, we went inside, sat by the fire, drank cocoa, told stories. About Marcus teaching Levi to throw a football in the yard before Levi knew who he was. About Lillian's mama's peach cobbler. About the year the Christmas tree fell and we laughed till we cried. Gracie fell asleep on the couch. Levi carried her to bed. Jasmine tucked her in. Lillian did dishes. I sat by the tree. The teacup, the old one, sat on the mantel, cracked but unbroken. I picked it up, filled it with sweet tea from the pitcher on the counter, drank. It didn't burn. It tasted like justice. At 11:55, we gathered in the living room. The TV showed the peach drop in downtown Atlanta. We counted down. 10, 9, 8. Fireworks exploded outside. Cheers from the block. The new year roared in. We hugged, cried, laughed. Jasmine raised her cocoa to family. Levi raised his to truth. Lillian raised hers to healing. Gracie, half asleep, raised her juice to Mr. Jellybean. I raised the teacup, the old one, cracked but whole. To us, I said, and to the sweetest tea that ever burned, we drink. The fire crackled, the tree lights blinked, the snow fell soft outside. And in that moment, I knew. Sometimes the sweetest tea burns the hottest, and the truth don't need sugar.